In this course, we want to talk about creating eye-catching compositions. And to do this, we want to ask the fundamental question, what makes a successful composition? Because composition is what's one of the critical elements of creating an image that allows us to communicate. Why is it that images like this one, which I shot down in Kodiak, Alaska, are successful? This is an image that emotes power. This image, completely separate emotion. This is more peaceful. These are floating icebergs in Grewing Glacier Lake in southern central Alaska. This image is just plain fascinating. It's hard not to look at it first time you see it. And then there are images which are all about personal emotion. These are 4 images that I consider to be very successful. So why are these images successful? And when we look at 4 similar images with similar composition, an ocean wave, a glacier image, sea stars, and zip, and these images are clearly not so much in terms of being successful. Can we ask some questions? Can we use some tools and techniques that help us create better quality images on a regular basis? Images that are more like these rather than images that are like these. And there are. Over the years, I've developed a series of tools and techniques that allow me to ask this question and answer it. And here are the 4 fundamental characteristics that I use when I compose my images: simplicity, asymmetry, eye lines, and point of view. You'll notice I have an asterisk next to simplicity because it's the single most important one. And then I look at asymmetry, eye lines, and point of view. Let's take a look at these 4 sets of images just briefly and do a quick comparison with them, and we'll dig into more details as we go. We compare the image in the upper left-hand corner, which is unsuccessful, with this one in the lower right-hand corner. When we look at the basic simplicity, notice that there are only 3 elements here. This is a much more complex image with at least 5 or 6 elements. And notice all these elements are well separated from each other. They're clearly definable, whereas here we have overlapping image elements. And there's no key element in this top image, where here the wave is obviously the key element. So here, simplicity, asymmetry, eye lines, and point of view all come into play, particularly simplicity, asymmetry, and eye lines. We compare these 2 images, successful, unsuccessful. This image is relatively simple with only 2 or 3 elements. This has multiple elements. This has a very definable foreground and background. Everything is well separated, where in this image, it's not. Once again, the top image, the unsuccessful one, is much more complex. This has a beautiful asymmetry to it, whereas the top image does not. This has nice eye lines that go from foreground to background, and this one, because of the complexity, it does not. We compare these 2 images. Again, just based upon simplicity alone, we see that the right-hand image is far more successful than the left one. It's much easier to look at, much easier on the eyes. All right, this has a clearly defined asymmetry to it. This one does not. All right, this has some beautiful eye lines coming down these legs. This clearly does not. All right, and this has a more interesting point of view in terms of just looking at a portion of the sea stars rather than all of them. And in images where you put it all together, where you have nice simplicity, beautiful asymmetry, good eye lines, and an interesting point of view, you can create successful compositions on a consistent and regular basis.